I'm Robert Weinstein with One Reason. Buying a first home can quickly change from excitement to a daunting process with new terminology to comprehend, contracts to sign, and obligations that may last 30 years or more. Many decide it's too much and take what I call the ostrich approach to their own detriment. They more or less bury their heads in the ground, taking the path of least resistance, often spending less examining a property than spent going to dinner and movies. Almost always, they realize they've made an avoidable mistake or mistakes costing thousands of dollars or more. For a typical buyer, it's well worth spending an extra few hours of time to save $10,000 or more. If you follow these 10 critical rules of buying a first home, you'll put yourself and your family in a position to avoid many of the common and, unfortunately, often expensive traps. You'll also have the satisfaction of knowing you're in the minority that bought a home the smart way. One caveat before beginning: I saved the most important, easiest, and vital rule for last, so you will remember it. These are the rules professional real estate buyers use, and you should too. In case you're wondering, yes, many of these lessons were learned the hard way by me personally or by others in transactions I was involved with. Others I learned from reading, and I encourage you to read as much as you can, and as a result of being a real estate broker for over 20 years. The banks are where the money is at. For most people, the most expensive component of a home is the interest expense on a mortgage. Before you begin shopping for a home, your first step is shopping for a mortgage. A natural first place to begin is your current bank that you already have a relationship with, albeit it certainly shouldn't be your last. Make sure you check bankrate.com and other online resources to compare interest rates. A $500,000 home with a $400,000 30-year fixed rate mortgage at 4.5% interest rate will pay about $329,000 in interest payments. By saving just 0.25% and sourcing a loan with the same conditions at 4.25%, the total interest cost declines nearly $22,000. Many buyers fail to realize how much interest they can avoid paying with a little extra effort. While variable interest mortgage rates start out lower, typically, than a fixed rate mortgage, I recommend first-time buyers pick a fixed rate unless they intend to sell within a few years. The fear of losing your home because of rising mortgage payments is an added stress most beginning families simply don't need. Depending on your situation, you may qualify for a government loan program. Never assume you can't qualify before inquiring. Many lenders don't participate in special financing and have little or no incentive to tell you about them. When it comes to finding the best loan for you, Google, Bing, and Yahoo are your best bets in finding the information home buyers need. While not as drastic as the total amount of interest payments, make sure you understand the total costs you will have to pay at closing. Also, know that many, if not all, closing costs are negotiable. In many states, buyers can select any title insurance company they want, although they rarely request a title company other than what their bank selects. Do your homework. Perform your homework before you start looking at homes you may actually purchase. Fortunately, most buyers follow this step to a limited degree, but often not as much as hindsight dictates is wise. Some homework is not only easy, it's fun. Netflix and HDTV have many shows dedicated to home buying and improvement. If you do nothing else than watch Netflix and HDTV real estate shows, you'll learn how easy it is to go over budget on improvement projects. You'll also gain insight on the sometimes emotional roller coaster real estate brings. By watching others in your same situation, you'll help to reduce the mystery of the process. Netflix is especially useful because the streaming channel allows viewers to watch one episode after another, something I've been guilty of myself many times. You can learn a considerable amount in a short period as a result, all while enjoying popcorn at the same time. Next, leave your emotions behind, or at least for last. A potentially expensive mistake is falling in love with a property and ignoring red flags. The emotional influence is often underrated and not discussed, albeit it's rare to find a buyer that isn't excited at the closing table. Strategies to minimize getting swept up in the moment include: calculate your total maximum price and monthly payments, remembering that total isn't the same as the home price. You have to add in insurance, taxes, maintenance, and planned upgrades. After, you will find a loan officer you're comfortable with. They can help you determine the appropriate amounts. Take a friend when visiting homes and have them point out things you think you won't enjoy after you move in. Hire a qualified, insured, bonded, and licensed home inspector. Don't think for a minute that a half-hour walkthrough is sufficient to find every possible defect a typical home inspector can find. Most states require various levels of seller disclosure, but treat them with extreme skepticism. Even sellers that aren't intentionally trying to hide defects may inadvertently do so. Homes that are less than 20 years old are almost always up to code in most situations. If you're planning on making alterations, improvements, or changes, newer home projects usually cost less for any given improvement, especially if it includes plumbing, electrical, or climate control. Also, during the 2000 to 2008 housing boom, homes were often slapped together as quickly as possible by relatively inexperienced crews. If the home you're viewing is in the housing boom period, treat it the same as an older home. Until proven otherwise, I always view homes built from 2005 to 2008 with extreme additional suspicion. All else being equal, newer homes are less expensive to insure, heat, cool, and initially maintain, though. For first-time homebuyers that may not fully understand the ongoing costs of owning a home, keeping expenses manageable is often the difference between your home serving you or you being a servant to it. Many first-time buyers only contact the same agent their parents use. Failing to shop for the best insurance value typically results in paying at least a few $100s more per year, especially compared to big-name insurance companies with large advertising budgets. For your best value, contact at least 3 agents and make sure at least 2 of them are independent agents representing multiple insurance companies. Talk to them in detail about coverage so you're able to determine the best coverage for your needs. Independent agents usually price compare several insurance carriers to find the best value. If you buy your homeowners and auto policy from the same company, expect to save an additional 10 to maybe 15%. Next, renovations. Renovations can bust your budget quickly. Few buyers find the perfect home they would build. For the rest of us, unless you're building brand new, it's unlikely that you'll find the perfect place that you don't want to make at least some changes to. If the home you're considering buying is older, particularly over 50 years old, you can count on the local building inspector requiring electrical and mechanical systems be brought up to code during the improvements. Before buying a home with a desire to make what appears to be a simple update, first find out what the worst case scenario is by a licensed and bonded contractor. Even real estate remodeling professionals get caught in regulatory quagmires at times due to previous out-of-code improvements and original equipment. It seems the Rehab Addict star Nicole Curtis stubs her toe at least once per project. She's a professional. So you can imagine how easy it is for a new home buyer to get caught in a home improvement trap. Avoid or expect to update homes with galvanized plumbing, knob and tube wiring, old fuse boxes and panels and circuit breakers less than 100 amps. Standard shingle roofs over 20 years old, regardless of the warranty, and old oil furnaces. Also, homes with any of these characteristics will cost considerably more to insure. Not all homes are taxed the same. Lake and other special taxing districts can cost homeowners more than the local municipal taxes. Just because a home doesn't have water access doesn't mean it's not part of a lake district. In my county, many homes near lakes have special assessments the same as if the properties were adjacent to the water. I personally got caught in this with one of my first homes that I bought for myself. It was a 3-bedroom house, and it was across the street from homes that were on the lake. My home also had to pay a lake district tax, and it was more than the local tax. If I didn't check and make sure, which I didn't, I got caught paying this extra $500-600 a year that I wasn't expecting. Next, because most property information sheets only include a total, buyers should check with the local tax collecting authority to find out what's included to arrive at a total tax bill. Recently passed referendums and special assessments may not show up in previous taxes as well. Be sure to determine if a tax increase is expected so you can avoid a surprise. Condominium owners have found they can get stuck for repairs that other members should pay. For example, when a condominium building needs repairs and one or more members is in foreclosure, the other owners may have to pay the owner in foreclosure's share. Condominium expenses typically include taxes, lawn care, common area costs, and more. If you're considering the purchase of a condo, make sure you know who your partners are, because condominium owners truly are partners. Easements are a cause of frustration with many newly minted homeowners as well. What may appear on paper as a simple easement can turn into a nightmare if the homeowner doesn't get along with the owner with an easement. Make sure you meet and evaluate landowners, including kids, with an easement on your property. Next, your nose knows. Your nose can smell things your eyes and other senses may not see. If you visit enough open houses and home tours, you'll inevitably run across homes with the sweet, enticing aroma of baked cookies or apple pie. When entering a home that has a pleasant smell, take note that if this home is otherwise desirable, another visit is required. Also, take an especially close look at the pipes, drains, and basement level for signs of moisture. Most advanced sellers will have a smell of baked goods in the air before an open house to help market the home. However, sometimes the motivation is a little bit more nefarious, and the seller is attempting to mask a musty, or otherwise unpleasant odor. Another warning sign is if the windows are open or the temperature is different than it should be based on the thermostat. Meet your neighbors. Many buyers are uncomfortable knocking on a stranger's door, albeit they may not be strangers for long. Do the neighbors have a teenager in a band that practices every Friday night? Do the neighbors own or rent? Do they have dogs that love to bark every day at 5 a.m.? Neighbors will often let you know about problems the seller has forgotten, and what other neighbors are in your area you may not want to live near. Remember, like it or not, the neighbors come with the house as a package. Next, find out what local laws, restricted covenants, and regulations your home will be subject to. Don't assume if you have or want to buy a fishing boat, company truck, or travel trailer camper that you can just park it in the driveway. Just because there are others doing so on the other side of the street that you can too. Make sure you know if the garden, fire pit, or shed you want to add to the backyard is allowed beforehand. In some locations, the color of the paint, the type of mailbox, the style of outside lighting is all limited. And now, thank you for watching so far. Here's my big secret. Okay, the last and most important rule for first-time homebuyers is using a buyer's representative instead of a typical real estate agent that owes their fiduciary duty to the seller. A buyer's representative will help you do all of the other things. One of the secrets in the real estate profession that I'm sharing with you is that when you call and talk to a typical real estate agent, they represent the seller, not you. You may go to many home viewings and spend time with your agent, but unless you have a written contract, and only a written contract because a verbal contract does not create that relationship, they almost always work for the seller. A buyer's representative, on the other hand, owes you, the buyer, a fiduciary duty and is obligated to help you negotiate the best possible price. You can expect a buyer's representative to point out and highlight negatives on any given property that a typical agent never will. A buyer's representative will not only help you find your dream home, but they will tell you how to buy it as cheaply as possible. If you can already see the advantages of using a buyer's rep, but are wondering what the catch is, then I have especially great news for you. Usually, a buyer's representative gets paid the same way as a standard agent through the listing agent's commission sharing agreement. So it doesn't cost you anything extra. In fact, many buyer's representatives, when allowed by state law, will rebate some of their commission back to the buyer. In fairness, many selling agents will rebate part of their commission too. To find a local buyer's representative, look for an agent with an accredited buyer's representative designation. Agents with an ABR designation have special training to assist home buyers. Also, you want an agent that focuses on helping buyers through a buyer's agency agreement. Home buyers that follow this one simple rule will gain a valuable edge that well over 90% of others fail to take advantage of. Having a buyer's agency can literally make the difference between your home buying experience being fantastic after the fact compared to living with regrets and and wishing you would have gone a different direction. If you would like to leave any comments, leave them below. I will welcome them, and also please subscribe. Thank you.